So welcome everyone to the Co-Creators Convergence Thursday night Creator Convos. I'm Noelle Marshall, and I'm here with my beloved Bob Warner.
Hi, everyone.
And together we call ourselves Light Partners. And I want to tell everyone a little bit. We have some folks here that haven't been here before, but I'll tell you that Bob and I are here every Thursday night hosting just magnificent speakers and guests. So I want to just play a short video and tell you a little bit about the Co-Creators Convergence. So here we go. So welcome back, everyone. I hope that gives you a little bit of idea about the Co-Creators Convergence. And right now, I want to introduce my dear friend for many years, who I met through Barbara Marx Hubbard, Karima. And Karima, let me tell you a little bit about Karima. She's an author and transformational speaker, and she was an instructor at Oregon Coast Community Colleges teaching practical metaphysics. I like when it's practical. And mindfulness meditation. Rewire your brain for peace. She's also been a UC Berkeley facilitator and took the Science of Happiness course. She's a very happy person. And she has a PhD in metaphysical counseling. She has also practiced inner energy matrix, avatar mindset training, and she was co-producer of the movie American Visionary, The Story of Barbara Marx Hubbard, in which Bob and I starred. No, right? We were in it. We were in it. So Karima, I'm going to turn off my camera. I'm going to turn it over to you, have a silence, a little meditation, and then I'd like you to introduce our spectacular guest for tonight.
Excellent. Thank you all for coming, beloveds. Let's close our eyes for a minute or two and sink into our chair. Take a few deep belly breaths. And if you like to exhale with a little noise, it kind of feels good. Just let it go. Let's bring ourselves into this now moment. The past has no power over the present moment, Eckhart says. So we let go of our past. We cut ourselves free from all negatives, fears, doubts, our self-image. any judgments we have of others or ourselves. Let them go. We release it all and enter this sacred circle of souls. We call in our guides with deep gratitude. We prepare to hear what is needed for us individually and for the planet. How can we walk into a brighter future? In this now moment, there is no resistance to life. Let us be in the state of grace, ease, and lightness. A quote from Rumi. Sometimes you hear a voice through the door calling you. This turning toward what you deeply love saves you. Why do you stay where you are when the door is so wide open? So begin to come back to this present moment, fully awake and ready to receive. Let's walk through our new open door. Bless us, everyone. Bless all life. Amen. And so it is. I have the great honor of introducing Marc Allen, our special guest tonight. He's CEO of the New World Library publishing house, established in 1977. And he's published a lot of the wonderful books that we've probably all read, from Mother Teresa, Eckhart Tolle, Deepak Chopra, Wayne Dyer, Sark, Joseph Campbell, Barbara Marx Hubbard, Alan Watts, Lee Harris, a great energy intuitive, Gay Hendricks, Jose Silva, Henry David Thoreau, Shakti Gawain, and so on. New World Library publishes books and audios that inspire and challenge us to improve the quality of our lives and of our world. The ultimate goal of this company is a sweeping one, no less than personal and planetary transformation, awakening both individual consciousness and global social potential. Why? Publishing inspirational and practical materials on spirituality and personal growth. Marc is the author of 18 books himself, including Visionary Business, The Millionaire Course, and The Greatest Secret of All. He also is a prolific artist and has 7 albums of music. As an internationally renowned speaker and seminar leader, Marc works with people around the globe to craft lives of lasting abundance and prosperity. You want to check out marcallen.com. A lot of programs are there: The Magical Path, Success with Ease, Visionary Business, The Power of the Feminine, and How to Get Happily Published. He also has a Facebook group, Success with Ease, with Marc Allen. And if you post your experiences there, he will answer you. So here is one of the most beloved spirituality publishers who understands happiness is an inside job, and then what's outside will follow suit. And I find he is very creative and rebellious, and in his own words, lazy. Yep, that's what he says. So, Marc, we're so looking forward to your wisdom, your story, your practices. And I'm thinking, before we get into all the juicy stuff, because so many here are familiar with Barbara, do you remember the story you mentioned somewhere of her coming into your office? And you could start with that maybe before we get into things. I think that's priceless.
Yes, I would love to start there. We talked by phone, and she had shown us her book, Conscious Evolution. We immediately wanted to publish it, and did a contract and had a manuscript deadline date, that it was due. And she showed up that day in the office, and just her energy. I took one look at her. I don't know if I said this to her or not, but I thought she is the youngest older person I've ever met. She just had the energy of about an 8-year-old, the way she just bounced in the office with her manuscript. She walked over to my desk. She threw the manuscript down, and now I've published for 44 years now, over 1,000 manuscripts. I've never had this happen before. Every other author, including me, once you've finished a manuscript, you know all the work that went into it, and you're totally attached to it, and it's your precious jewel. She tossed it down on the desk, and she said, we could all start over. We could just start over, and you could just record me, and we could just write the whole book in a whole totally fresh way. Because, when I write it, things change so quickly that we're not capturing the moment. So we could write the book right now, capturing the moment. She was willing to put her manuscript aside and start over with.
Wow.
Just
that's incredible.
It cracked me up. And I looked at her manuscript, we all did, and said, Barbara, this is wonderful. This is a wonderful manuscript you've got. You obviously put a lot of work into this manuscript. We'll go with what you've got, and we'll edit. And through the editing process, she kept changing, because she had another idea this morning. She had another idea. And finally, we had to, at the end, it was done. It was like going to the printer, right? And she was calling up, I got a new idea. I want to really change this chapter. And we finally just had to say, Barbara, okay, this is the cutoff point. It's going to the printer. You can't change anymore. She was wonderful to deal with, just so light and wonderful, inspiring everyone. She enjoyed life and was so passionate about her contribution to it all. Wonderful woman. I love her.
Thank you for sharing that. She inspired so many of us, but that's a really unique experience you had.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Yep. When I think about it, every book I published has a story, really, you know. But that publishing her was just a dream come true.
Very cool.
Yeah. Hmm.
Well, you have quite a story to back up. After reading all of these books, I mean, gosh, even if you absorb a tenth of it, you probably have a lot more than we do grasp on the whole thing. So we're hoping that you'll share as much as we have time for tonight.
Yes. It has been an amazing journey. I just started self-publishing a few little books of my own. And then my girlfriend at the time in 77, 78, 79 was named Shakti Gawain. And she wrote a little book called Creative Visualization. At the time, we were just a startup in a little apartment in Oakland. We had no money. We were just scrounging to get everything published, and we had no promotion. It was just the two of us. It was the entire staff, and just part-time. We were doing other things, and we didn't even send out a review copy or do anything. We just found a distributor and got it in some stores, and then I remember in a few weeks getting some calls from bookstores. One bookstore said, "What is this book? People buy a copy and they come back 2 days later and they want 5 copies or 6 copies. What's going on with this book?" All I knew was that it was a great book and it had tremendous word of mouth. And then Oprah picked it up. Oprah, the Holy Grail, which I'm bowing to the east toward Chicago. The Holy Grail of every author and publisher. Oprah launched my company, and she invited Shakti on and had her on for a full hour and held up the book next to her face. The camera zeroed in, and Oprah said, "I believe, and I've seen in my own life, that creative visualization works." By that time, by the time it was on, we had somebody handling printing, and we even had our first marketing director, who was totally inept, but it was a beginning. We weren't professionals in publishing at all. We'd been spiritual seekers. I'd been a musician and an actor. Shakti had been a dance major in college, and we didn't know a thing about publishing, but we got it out, and Oprah really got behind it, and we immediately called the printers and said, "We need a lot more copies in print," and bam, sold 3 million copies quite quickly. And then it just built from there. Once we had that out, all these authors started approaching us. It was amazing. And it just built from there. Oprah again then picked up The Power of Now when we put that out, and the whole company took a quantum leap. We sold 7 million quite quickly, 2.5 million hardcover, and because Oprah, she picked it up at the LA Book Fair, and somebody called me and said, "Mark, you don't know me. You gave me your card at a convention 5 years ago, but I'm at the LA Book Fair and Oprah is here walking around holding a copy of The Power of Now. I thought maybe you'd like to know." I said, "You bet." I called my marketing guy, said, "We need a lot more copies in print right away." And we got them in print, and it was on the New York Times bestseller list for about, I think, 72 weeks. Every author's dream. And it is such a great book. It's my favorite book of all time. I feel it's the only book I need for the rest of my life, actually. So it's been extraordinary. I never sat down and said, "I want to start a publishing company." It just started. it was, we had a friend who I better not name, who was going to do a seminar in Berkeley. And it was a 4 or 5 day seminar ending on New Year's in a big New Year party. We had this huge big house that was called the whatever house we lived in. And he got this mailing list and he sent out and had 25 people coming for the 4 or 5 day things. And then before it happened, he got weirder and weirder. He got very strange. And he burned the checks that came in saying we shouldn't be attached to the material plane. And he started, I don't know, he got very weird. And I won't go into detail, though I could. They're very funny, but I won't. But 10 minutes before, all the people had arrived. They were all settled. They were all waiting to begin. The three of us were in the kitchen. He'd hired me just to hand out, support him, hand out things. And he'd hired Shakti to cook. And we were prepared to do that. And 10 minutes before in the kitchen, he said, I can't handle this. And he walked out the back door. And so Shakti burst into tears. Said, what are we going to do? And so we talked. We said, well, let's us do it. Let's see, if they don't like it, they can have their money back. In fact, the checks have already been burned anyway. So Shakti and I went in there and said, well, the main guy is having some delays here, but we're going to do this. And we taught the seminar, and it was amazing. We threw in everything we'd ever learned. I was 29 by that time, I think, and she was 27. So I'd had like 9 years of workshop we called ourselves workshop junkies in Berkeley, taking all these different things. So we threw in everything. And between each session, I'd run up into my room and type up what we had just done, because there was so much that I knew they'd forget most of it. So I typed up stuff, kept handing them pages. By the end of the 4 or 5 days, we had like 64 pages that we'd stapled together and printed up the little local, copier place. And I literally then, after they left, looked up book and publish in a dictionary to say, have I published a book? And it turned out, yeah, a book is anything with a spine, and publishing is making public. You can print 2 copies, and if you give one to your mom, it's technically publishing. So we took it to the local bookstore and then found a little distributor. And the distributor took one look and said, well, you have to have a much better cover. You have to not staple it. You have to have a spine, because bookstores need books with spines on them. And you have to typeset it, and then we'll distribute it. And so we did that. I'd learned how to typeset before. So I typeset it, and we printed it, a little local printer with a spine. And that was the beginning. It was called Reunion Tools for Transformation, because the workshop had been called Reunion. And we sold about 12,000, but over maybe 15 years. Then I did another book on astrology, because I did charts and things. And we sold about 25,000 over, again, 15 years maybe. So not a lot each year. And
So I'm trying to get, you were in your late 20s, but I remember your story of when you turned 30 and you didn't have that much money then.
Right.
But you had decided to take a firm grip on things, and you even faced your doubts and fears and talked to them. So
right.
Give me a chance. Yeah, that happened when you were about 30, I think.
Yeah, my 30th birthday totally changed my life. I woke up in a state of shock, and I think, yeah, I'd had just by that point the book out stapled that we'd given out for the seminar. That's as far. Then it was just laying around. And then the day that I was 30, I woke up in a state of shock. I realized I wasn't a kid anymore, and I paced up and down, wondering what to do with my life. I'd had a rock band even in my late 20s that had fallen apart. Everything I touched through my 20s fell apart. I went to a Zen center and got kicked out for breaking the rules. And I kept getting fired from jobs and stuff. So I woke up at the day I turned 30. I had no job. I had no income. I had nothing, no assets at all, no support from family or anything. We were just scrounging every month. How are we going to make $65 rent? Was the amount of rent in our little slum room in Oakland in 1977, you know. And that's where I was at the beginning of the day. And then I paced up and down, and I remembered a little game we'd played during a back to the land experiment I tried when I was like 22, which was a disaster. I lasted about 5 months. But one night we were sitting around a fire, and this couple said, let's play this game we play at church camp. Let's imagine 5 years had passed and everything has gone as well as you can imagine. What would your life look like? And we all went around the fire and said something. And I tried when I turned 30 to remember what I said, and I didn't remember a word. So obviously it had no impact in my life whatsoever. But the day I turned 30, I thought, this is a good idea to play this game. But this time I'm going to write it down so I remember. And I took a sheet of paper, I wrote ideal scene. And then much to my amazement, I imagined I was 35. Ooh, that's almost middle-aged. It seems so old. 35, but my ideal, I am dared to dream my ideal. And to this day, this is what I encourage everybody to do. Dare to dream 5 years have passed and everything has gone as well as you could imagine. Much to my amazement, I wrote, I have a successful publishing company that just cruises along and I don't work too hard. In fact, I only work when I feel like it. I do everything in an easy and relaxed manner. And I even, in my head, I knew I wanted to work musician's hours. I'd never been a morning person. I loved being a musician because you never did a thing before 1 in the afternoon. You know, so that was my dream. And then I started, and I write books and I record my music and I have real estate, a beautiful home in Marin County, and that's the magical county across from San Francisco Bay. That's 75% undeveloped and just magical. It's a mountain going down to the ocean. It's my favorite place. And of course, as soon as I dared actually write that down, I was just inundated by doubts and fears, inundated. And the older I get, the simpler I see it. I did the 2 essential things that day. The first essential thing, you dare to dream. You dare to dream, and you take whatever steps you can. I ended up the day with a 1-page plan for every major goal I had. 1-page plan to start a publishing company. I didn't know a thing about business. My entire plan had 2 things. 1, read a used business 101 textbook. And 2, talk to people I know who know more about business than I do, which was everybody, because I'd never taken a course in it or anything. That was my plan in writing. So for every goal, I had a 1-page plan, and I just took the next step. And it became so simple. Oh, there's just 2 essential things. Dare to dream and take whatever step is next on your, they're all small steps. They're all simple things. And then deal with the doubts and fears that inevitably arise in almost everybody. As soon as you dare to dream, doubts and fears come up. And I literally battled with my doubts and fears that day. I said, I want all of this. And in fact, and I added even in the bottom, I'm going to do this in my own lazy way, only work as much as I feel like it. I'd had a few 40-hour-a-week jobs. I thought they were inhumane for me. I did not like them. It didn't give me enough time to play my music and just relax. I love to take naps in the afternoon. I love to sleep till 11. And so that's my ideal. Sleep till 11, take a nap in the afternoon, only work as many hours as you feel like, never work on Monday. I never do Mondays. I start Tuesday afternoon. I don't do weekends. Sunday is family day. And right from the beginning, that was my ideal. Doubts and fears said, impossible, can't do it. You start your own business, you have to work 60 hours a week. My dad had said that. Somebody And I said, no, I'm going to start a business and only work when I feel like it. And it turned out to be maybe 20, maybe sometimes I've worked 30 hours a week, maybe if I'm really into something. But my doubts and fears said, impossible, impossible. And I finally literally argued with them, pacing up and down. And I finally said, well, you know what? I'm going to go for this dream. I'm going to try it. So don't bug me for a year. Just go away for a year. Let me try it because it's a worthwhile experiment. I'd launched onto the word experiment because somebody told me about Buckminster Fuller, looking at his life as an experiment. And that grabbing onto that word, I said, this is a good experiment. Doubts and fears said, it won't work. It won't work. And I said to them, well, if it doesn't work, I'll be no worse off than I am right now. And even my doubts and fears had to say, well, yeah, you don't have a job. You don't have any income whatsoever. Yeah, it can't get much worse. So I went for it. The next day, I walked to a local business that I knew, a sauna that I knew the owner. And I said, how do you start a business? And he said, oh, it's easy. You just go to Civic Center and file a fictitious business name statement. So what's that? Well, your business has to have a name. And so I did that. And then I got my book typeset and put out my first little book, and it just built from there.
You have been an affirmation king. You remind me of Louise Hay a little bit.
Yes.
And the one that you say that sort of includes everything, it's kind of long. You say that after a lot of your other.
Right. I often attached to I made a list. The day I turned 30, I actually did 4 things. I did my ideal scene. Then I listed every goal. I had 12 goals there. Start a publishing company, start writing, start recording, start learning about real estate. It was all start because I had nothing happening. I listed my 12 goals. Then I took another sheet of paper and I wrote each goal as an affirmation. And I started it with, in an easy and relaxed manner, in a healthy and positive way, in its own perfect time, for the highest good of all, I am now creating a successful publishing company. And I did that for each goal in an easy and relaxed manner. I got that phrase from Catherine Ponder, a Unity Church minister, in a book of hers I'd read. And I think that phrase really changed my life. To this day, I keep saying that phrase.
Will you say that again?
In an easy and relaxed manner, in a healthy and positive way, in its own perfect time, for the highest good of all. I am now creating the life of my dreams. Is a good one. And I do think, for me, affirmations have been the single most powerful tool that changed my life. When I look back, I do think that evening of the day I turned 30, I was a different person than in the morning. Because in the morning, I was clueless. What's happening? How can I get $65 together for rent this month? That was my main goal for the month. By the end of the day, I had a goal. I had 12 goals. I had plans, 1-page plans. I was focused. I was determined to take whatever step is necessary in front of me. It turned out to be simple and easy. I think maybe one of the best things I can do in seminars and things, maybe I could do, is show people how totally inept I am. I was completely uneducated. I was an actor. I was a theater major. And then I had a rock band. And that was in my 20s. I was an actor for a while and I had a rock band. Then I went to a Zen center and got kicked out. Then I spent 3.5 years at a Tibetan center and I didn't get anything out of it, hardly. I mean, I left after feeling it was all like sand through my hand, that I got nothing. Then I just had a few odd jobs. I got fired as a dishwasher and busboy for being too slow. I got fired as a typesetter for not showing up on time because I was at the beach and I didn't want to show up. And I'm totally unorganized. I am lazy. I'm extremely, I always was. As a kid, I was never a morning person. I'm not that intellectually gifted. I know so many more people, so many more of my writers that I just sit there in awe of, oh, they're so much smarter than I am. Wow, they're a lot of really smart people. Some of the people I deal with that are, like I can't read the Seth books, for instance, because they're on some intellectual plane that's beyond me. And there are a bunch of books like that I don't get. I took a course of philosophy in college and felt I didn't get a thing. I didn't get what it was on some intellectual plane beyond me. I'm not that smart at all. And
So you're kind of saying that if you
can do
can
it.
succeed, anyone could.
Yes, I am. That's exactly what I'm saying. If I can do it, anyone can do it. And I even had a woman come up to me after a talk and say that. She said, are you saying anybody can succeed? And I said, yeah. And she said, well, then why don't more people succeed? I said, well, that's a great question. Think of people. How many people do you know that really have a clear goal in mind and are really taking steps toward it and dealing with the doubts and fears? That's all it takes. It's all it takes.
You did say, but I think it's referring to a pretty long time ago, that you said a particular affirmation a few thousand times over a year or two. I don't remember exactly which one it was. And I'm thinking like, that's really intense, like most of us, like maybe for 3 days will be good. And then it's like, well, that didn't work, but that's a lot of dedication. And I just am wondering, it seems today the energies are stronger, and the field is more active, and so maybe it wouldn't take quite so long to manifest with, as it did, 20, 30 years ago.
Yes, maybe. And for a person that understood like a little bit about money and finance, it wouldn't have taken so long. Because I remember what you're talking about. It was about 3 years into the founding of the company, we almost went bankrupt. Our distributor collapsed and we didn't get paid for books we'd sold for 6 months. And I was 65,000 in credit card debt. And this was like the early 80s. So it's probably $250,000 in today's dollars or something. I couldn't even afford to pay the minimums. I wasn't getting paid enough from the company to pay the minimum due on my credit cards. I was every month getting a new credit card and getting an advance to pay the minimums. And I knew it was on the verge of collapsing. And then that's when I found an affirmation that changed my life. I was driving down the freeway, I remember, and for one phrase that changed my life is somebody quoted Napoleon Hill saying, "Within every adversity is an equal or greater benefit." And I wrote that down. I said, okay, what can be the benefit? What can be the benefit here of being almost broke, And then, in several of my books, I have this core belief process. It's just 8 questions you ask yourself. And I realized I was totally agitated on my way to the bank as I heard that Napoleon Hill. And then I did the core belief process. And I realized my core belief was I was an idiot with money. I was out of control. I was a fool with money. That was the phrase that I was a fool with money. I'm out of control. And so once you nail a core belief like that, you come up with an affirmation, or you can call it just a counter statement that contradicts it and counteracts it. Now, in dealing with Sark, she says you should start your counter statements with the word actually. Actually, and that's even better. I didn't know that then. But if I did it today, I'd say, okay, here's my belief. I'm a fool with money. I'm out of control. Here's my counter statement, my affirmation. And here's what I came up with. Actually, I am sensible and in control of my finances. I am creating total financial success in an easy and relaxed manner, a healthy and positive way, in its own perfect time for the highest good of all. That was my affirmation. It's kind of long, but it took me, well, actually, we started turning things around quite quickly, but I did keep affirming that for a couple of years. And within a couple of years, I was sensible and in control. I created financial success. I was out of debt, and I had a well-balanced portfolio that I've had ever since.
Another thing about affirmations, and it sounds like you had honed in on that, and maybe because you didn't have all that psychological stuff going on, but if you are really believing your words and believing in the process, that belief factor has to play a lot into, who's going to be manifesting and who isn't.
Yeah. I've often thought about that whole concept of belief, and I realized looking back, I never had to come to believe anything. I never had to make a leap of faith or to think, oh, these affirmations work. No, I just tried things with an open mind. I tried affirming with an open mind, and they proved their worth. I think I had sort of a mini little awakening when I was 15. I saw Hamlet with a whole school group. And I remember at the end, I walked apart from the school group because I was thinking about his line to Horatio, that there's far more in heaven and earth than we dream of in our philosophy. And I realized, wow, that's totally true. There's far more in heaven and earth than anyone can understand. Anyone. Who are we to think we know, can understand the amazing forces of creation? We can't understand how that all works at all. And I think it like opened my mind to look at things then, to look at all these different Eastern philosophies, all these different things, and say, maybe, who knows? Who knows if there's past lives? Who knows these near-death experiences? Who knows what any teacher is teaching from any tradition ever? Maybe there's a kernel of truth in there's somewhere that. So I think then when I first started reading books like that Catherine Ponder books about affirmations, I just tried them with an open mind. I didn't have to believe in them. I just tried, and I could feel immediately their effectiveness. When I was 21, I found a book called The Art of True Healing by Israel Regardie that had a healing meditation that he called the Middle Pillar Meditation. Little short book. In fact, I've taken and put the whole book in chapter 4 of my book, The Magical Path. So if you get Magical Path, you get 2 books for one, because you get the entire Art of True Healing. I was 21 when I found that book, and I was in horrible health, the worst health of my life, because my last 2 years of college, I did massive amounts of crystal methadone. Very, very, very bad for your health and heart. And I finally got that book, and I sat down and for about maybe 45 minutes did the Middle Pillar Meditation from there, where you just relax, you run energy through your body, then you send healing energy I sent it to my heart, 45 minutes. And I remember when I got up out of that chair, I felt 20 pounds lighter. I felt healed. I felt tangible, solid results of that 45-minute meditation. And I realized this stuff works. I didn't have to come to believe it. I just noticed the effect on my body of a 45-minute healing meditation. The meditation you opened with, you can feel the physical effects of it. When you start, I got so relaxed, I almost thought maybe I just wouldn't say anything, just sit here in bliss.
You still do that, running the light through you too, don't you? Still
Yes.
do that and take your naps, and
Yes.
you're never sick. I've never even.
I know, it's amazing. Yeah, and I do my meditation flat on my back in my favorite yoga posture, the corpse posture, and I usually do that every afternoon, and half the time I just fall right asleep. But the other half the time, I will run energy and send it healing anywhere that needs it, and do a healing meditation. That's about the only exercise I've ever consistently stuck with over the years. Everything else, I'm undisciplined too. That's another thing on my any discipline or anything I'm supposed to do every day, including exercise. I do have this, maybe a rebellious streak, you could call it, but I just enjoy not doing things, being lazy,
And I'm thinking this relaxed attitude is maybe what allows your dream to unfold, because so many of us that want so much to like do good in the world, and we want a better life too, but we are in this reaching out kind of a mode, get her done kind of mode, and your natural chill factor, you get out of your way. So, more simply stating what you want and in an easy and relaxed manner. It's just, you've learned to get out of your way and to be happy. I don't think you can manifest if you're not happy, and if you're not in love with life, in love with yourself, nothing's going to happen. So it's your chill factor, I think, that's helped you.
I saw a book submitted about all these people, including like Einstein, Churchill, all these amazing people that were into naps. And they talk about the not only the rejuvenation, but how that's where so many fresh ideas come once you've slept. And I sure find that to be true. You take a break from your constant pushing. We published Hal and Sidra Stone that do voice dialogue, very amazing stuff. Shakti Gawain was blown away by their work and talked about it a lot in Living in the Light. But one thing they talk about, that inner pusher, that inner, all our different inner sub-personalities, our inner critic, everybody's so familiar. Well, you got to get that inner critic out of there. And when you're creating anything, like when you're writing, kick the inner critic out of the room, and you'll bring the critic back when you need an editor, when you've got something written. But there also is that pusher. And I think almost all of us, we just had to develop it to get through school. School's really incredibly stressful. We start at 6 years old, these poor little kids sit down for 6 hours in the morning and behind a desk. I mean,
in a wooden chair.
Yeah, right. In a totally uncomfortable chair. And we developed this pusher. And so a real good thing to do in meditation, just to relax it, just tell that pusher, go take a vacation, take a cruise, get your feet up on a chaise lounge, have a drink with a little umbrella in it, and just get out of here. Quit pushing me. I want to be lazy. That's what I have for. So my pusher is way back there somewhere.
Yeah, I think he's gone. I don't see him.
Might be.
Well, I have a question, and it kind of goes back to a few minutes ago, a comment you said a lady made, and maybe some others on this call have this question also, but it's about karma and the soul's journey, fate, destiny, and our souls keep coming back. We've probably done everything, been everything. So my question is, aren't some people maybe supposed to be poor? Or aren't some people not supposed to get something they want? Like it's not in their cards. Maybe you're not supposed to get a partner because, your last 10 lifetimes, you were like grabbing on, and like now you need to learn to love yourself, or maybe you have a crappy job and it's meaningless, but that's what you're supposed to have, because you're supposed to learn to create meaning. So you see where I'm coming with this is,
Yeah.
it just, I hear people like, well, maybe they kind of give up because it's like, well, I guess I'm not supposed to have my life that I have dreamed of. They sell themselves short, and they use things like, karma and destiny. And so I don't know, how do you answer that?
Karma is inexorable. Karma is a law of the universe. But I know we can really affect our karma this lifetime. What we do, the Dalai Lama says this, our thought, the Buddha said that our life today is created by our thoughts of yesterday. Our thoughts of today will create our life tomorrow. We can change our thoughts. Like, I was a poverty case, total poverty case, till I was like 33. And it was because I was saying, I'm a fool with money. I don't understand, and I'm out of control, whatever, I have a blow, and it's so complicated. That was what I kept telling myself. Well, I decided to change that. And I started saying, I'm sensible and in control of my finances. I am creating total financial success. I changed. You could even say, maybe I changed my financial karma by just repeating that. I think karma's fluid, flexible, and change. And what we do this life has a powerful impact on our future. And what we think, just part of it. At first, this was a shock for me and for a lot of people when I realized it, but part of it is just becoming aware, getting that conscious awareness that Eckhart and so many talk about. And so many Zen teachers, it's samadhi. It's basically having that conscious awareness behind our thoughts and feelings. That's just observing them, observing our thoughts. And once we really learn to become conscious of our thoughts, every moment, every thought, then we really can start changing those thoughts. We can, when something really negative arises, something that really limits us, when we're putting ourselves down or feeling resentful or regretful or whatever it is, we can just look at that thought and say, isn't that interesting? I have that regret. I'm going to let that go. I'm going to let that regret. There's no need for any regrets whatsoever. Every moment of our past was essential for leading right up to this moment now. But in this now moment, we can change our karma, I think.
I like that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. It's fluid. The way I was expressing it, which you hear a lot, it's like a victim consciousness.
Right.
And you're saying that we have within every thought, within, the ability to continue creating, changing, shifting. So
right.
You said
right.
it well, very well.
Yes.
Thank you.
Look at Eckhart. I was first going to say, look at Buddha. I mean, he was totally depressed by sickness, old age, and death, meditated for 6 years, and then had this great awakening that completely, enlightened him. Eckhart was very similar. That's why he is such a genius. He spent his 20s suicidally depressed. He nearly committed suicide. And the night, when he was 29, in bed, and then he said he felt like it was a fist that hit him in the chest, and an inner voice saying, resist nothing. Resist nothing. Not even your own suicidal depression. Accept. Offer no resistance, he said. And that's where he came up with, to offer no resistance to life is to be in a state of grace, ease, and lightness. Yes, a phrase you used, and I love those three.
Got that off of one of your pages.
I often reflect on that. For 18 months reading Power Now, I got stuck on that one phrase, and I just kept repeating that. To offer no resistance to life is to be in a state of grace, ease, and lightness. And a lot of times I just walk around just going, grace, ease, and lightness. And you summon those qualities to you with the power of the word. in the beginning was the word. Just saying grace, ease, and lightness can lighten your life.
Yes, thank you. And Mark, I of course have more questions, but I think our audience has some.
Okay.
And I believe I will let Noelle handle that. There might even be some questions on the Facebook Live. So I will turn it over to Noelle to take some questions. And if we get towards the end and there are no more, I'll ask you another one. But, but thank you. Thank you so much for all of your.
Been really, really great.
Oh, thank you.
I want to invite others to, if you want to turn on your video and ask a question, or if you want to put it in the chat, this is just, this opportunity to talk to Mark and pick his brains. How does it get any better than this? I know it does. Never want to put a limit on how good it gets, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, would you want to go ahead and jump in here? Go ahead.
I can see the chat room here.
Oh, is this for me?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, thanks. Hi, Mark.
Hey.
I'm a friend with Karima. I've known her for at least 20 years, so that's how she introduced me to you. And I went to your website, and it really connected with me.
Okay, we're having a little difficulty hearing you. You moved your camera away from the speaker, so we can't hardly hear you or see you.
Okay.
There you
go.
go.
Better?
Yeah.
Oh,
Much better.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I just wanted to let Mark know that I went to his website and I've been doing his meditations on the Army of Magicians meditations. Yeah, and it's really resonated with me. I've been doing it for the last 2 days or so since I found it. And Karima introduced me to you through email, and so I just wanted to thank you. It's just resonating with me, your teachings. Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Thank you.
And it's really helpful because of the stress in life, and finding a key to healing is rare. It's like for some people, at least for me. So I'm just super grateful, and I'm looking forward to reading. I just kind of made a decision. I thought the Magic Path might be a good place to start.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Magical Path is my latest book, really. And I realized somewhere along the line, at least in my experience, sometimes 1 minute or 2 minutes of a good guided meditation where you can summon your inner magician, or you can summon total healing energy throughout your whole body. I often think 1 or 2 minutes of a good guided meditation can be worth hours of conversation and of reading pages, and because your subconscious remembers an imaginary guided meditation just as much as it remembers anything you do and out there in the so-called real world. So yeah, I'm super grateful. It for some reason it hit. I've been meditating for many years, and trying different things, but I don't know if it's maybe where the time and the season and the year, but it seems right. So I'm pretty excited to have met you and everybody, and I'm looking forward to learning more.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, would anybody else like to jump in here? I did put something in the chat. I only have one quote that I really have memorized, and that's from Michael Bernard Beckwith. It says, "My imagination is spirit's vehicle, and it creates mightily as through me and as me.
Mm. Mm.
And as you were speaking, it sounded like you have mastered that. You know, that's I mastered trying to remember it.
Well, that's
But,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a powerful one.
yeah.
That's a powerful, you're affirming your imagination. When we all have an imagination, by affirming that spirit's vehicle. So spirit comes through, you're saying it's, you know, it's coming through you, then you're channeling spirit, you could say, or that's powerful.
Yeah, I love that one. And, you know, I noticed that Bob and I have taught a lot of Pachamama symposiums, you know, to teach people more about our earth. And it's called Awaken the Dreamer, Changing the Dream. And so it's a wonderful 4-hour symposium. And we give that freely. And there is one part, it's very interactive. There's one part where we have people imagine into the future. You know, they're talking to their ancestors and their great-great-grandchildren and what the world that they want to create. And it shocks me how little imagination there is. You know, it's kind of like, oh, well, our cars now get 70 miles to the gallon. You know, it's like, well, you know, it's like, I mean, I don't, you know, it's just an exercise, but I find it, I find it difficult myself. I have to challenge myself to think bigger, think
Yes.
bigger, think
Yes.
different.
Yes. That's a great thing to do. Challenge yourself. I challenge myself. How can I imagine a world that works for all? At the end of my book, Visionary Business, I have that. And I often still do it. And I do think it's simple. It doesn't have to be complex at all. And it can happen coming from different levels, you could say. I'm a little lost for words right now. Really, I haven't yet mastered the words to say it, but I know on an individual level, just as individuals, we can all change the world. On a corporate level, the corporations can change the world. Nonprofit levels can change the world. Governments can change the world. And we all need to work together. But every individual, I mean, I could go into it, like Charles Colton said, one of my favorite quotes of all. He said, if universal charity prevailed, earth would be a heaven and hell a fable. If everyone did something to make the world better, that would work. Corporations could make such huge change so simply. Like for starters, they should be like my corporation, give every employee a share of the profits. That turns every employee into thinking like an owner and enriches every employee. My goal is everyone that stays with me builds wealth over time. I call it the Get Rich Slowly with Marc program. Corporations, just by getting the new concept is the triple P bottom line, not just profit, but also people, meaning your people and your community and the earth, and then planet. So if every corporation shared profits with employees, took care of the people in their community, did sustainable things for the earth, the corporations are so powerful, they could transform the world very, very quickly. And some are starting to do it.
Right. Do you have any job openings? No, just kidding.
I keep getting asked that, but nobody ever leaves my company. The average person's been there almost 20 years now.
Wow, that's a testimony right there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they all have a diversified profit sharing pension plan. And so they're all doing great.
Awesome. We have a question here from Kathy Mason, who is also a publisher. And she asks, how do you see publishing evolving during the next 5 years? You
know, I don't see it changing a whole lot. I know I was watching a Star Trek thing that's 300 years in the future, and Jean-Luc was taking a vacation. He was reading a big hardcover book. And I think Star Trek is could see the future. But I know, I mean, people love books. At least I sure do. A print book is a special thing. Now, and ebooks are wonderful. We love ebooks, but they've leveled off. We do about 25% of our books as ebooks, and still 75% are print. Maybe that'll change in the future and be the other way around, maybe 75% ebooks. But a lot of people prefer reading that print page rather than on screen. But it doesn't matter, So I think there'll always be ebooks. There's something about a book where you can just, it's the only thing you kick back with for hours. Everything else online is so quick, all you read this blog, you're jumping around, all this information in little short bits, then you take a break. I have a special chair, for reading, and it's one of my favorite things to do. And I think that'll continue well into the future.
Quick question here before Ann jumps in here. What about audiobooks?
Wow, we love audio. People love audiobooks. They'll continue and continue.
Do you do those? I mean, you said 25%. Do you do those also, audio?
Yes. Yeah, we do audiobooks also. Yeah.
Okay.
And
All righty. Ann, did you want to jump in here and unmute yourself?
Oh, I had just said, instead of the triple bottom line, the quadruple bottom line, in which you have planet, profit, people, and purpose. So, or you could say passion as well, so that you're enlivened about it. I really wasn't planning on coming on and saying that. I just put that in the chat. But I will say I've so much enjoyed what you have to say. You are a cheerleader for what I believe and what I've done. And I find that I perpetually forget. And I call it a cheerleading session when I listen to something like this, because it's like, of course, I know that, but something about the enthusiasm and the words that are spoken ignite me again and remind me at a level that's deeper than intellectual. And so I have to thank you for that. It's so wonderful. As synchronicity would have it, I had a health challenge about a year ago, and I got through it very easily, and it was almost embarrassing. It was so easy, but I had some more not so good news the other day. And today I went to the ocean, and I was remembering someone had given me a healing thing, which was very similar to the one you were talking about, the Israel Regarde had done to you. And so I was just moving the light throughout my body, but I was trying to use the light energy of the sea because I was in the ocean and having it go through my solar plexus. And so I thought, yes, I'm on the right. When you said that, it's like, yes, I'm on the right track here with this healing meditation. So thank you for that gift, because I do need more physical healing. And I feel like today and yesterday, I feel like I have really turned some kind of corner in my life. Again, I mean, I've probably been around the block 50,000 times with these corners, but I feel like you're part of that turn. Thank you.
Oh, that's wonderful. And the fact you're near the ocean, the ocean is tremendously healing. Just being near the ocean is in itself powerfully healing, I think. Wonderful. Wonderful.
Thank you, Ann. And Ann has her own newsletter. She's one of the most creative people I know. And it's easyosophy. And it's all about taking it easy. To explain a little bit about that, Ann.
I've been talking about ease since the 80s. And I said, I've been working on getting that into the spiritual narrative. I'm also an author, and the next to the last book, and I've also ghostwritten some books, but one of my books is called Words Make a Difference, and it's all about affirmations. And I love it when you talk about how we can make a difference, because I have like letters to, that we should write letters of encouragement to all the big CEOs, like, we know that you can make a difference in the world, and we're asking you to do this kind of stuff. So I was really excited about you talking about these changes, because my book takes affirmations from the personal to the collective. because I thought we've had so much me-ism in affirmations that we have to move these from our individual once we begin healing and move it out to the planetary consciousness and healing.
Yes, yes. Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Perfect. Thanks, Anne. And up next, we have our dear friend Tex. Tex, like to join the conversation. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you. Well, this is groundbreaking to hear Marc Allen, and especially introduced by Karima, who I heard a few weeks ago on CCC. Now, hailing originally from the Seychelles Islands in the Indian Ocean, where the national animal is a tortoise. And so you can imagine that the pace can be relatively slow as an islander. And myself, I've borne a few brunt of people thinking I was a bit too slow. But we see where the world is at right now, and where all the frantic actions of experts and people, burning the candle at both ends has brought us. So if anything, I think, Marc, you inspire hope for more, how can I say, to ponder a bit more, to pace ourselves and to listen, to be more in tune with our true self, I mean, one thing we have in common is occasionally I enjoy a nap.
Good.
So probably on a good track there. So thank you very much, and hopefully I'll get a first 2-pager to you sometime.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, for those who don't know, before we started recording, Marc said that he can tell from the first 2 pages of a book whether he, well, Marc, you say it.
Well, I don't, some writers don't really like this, but I mean, we've been doing it so long. In almost there are exceptions. I'll say there are exceptions, but in almost every case, we know when a book's submitted to us within the first 2 pages, whether it would work for us to publish it or not. Just seeing the title, subtitle, the contents page, and the first 2 pages. And then often we then do want to see some about the author. Then I often just will read the first page or 2, then flip to the about the author, or if there isn't anything, I'll Google that person. And if there's nothing about them on Google, shows they don't have much happening online or anything. But that's it. Literally, often we'll spend 5 minutes with a submission, and that's it.
Awesome. All righty. Thank you, Marc. And I'm going to let Jean jump in here. Jean, did you have something you wanted to talk with Marc about? Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Hey, caught me off guard completely. I didn't even know that I was going to be on time or late or anything. Well, actually, I do have one book completed and finished and published if he wants to take a look at it. You can take a look at it at superchargedlife.org, and you can get it free, I think, still on Amazon when you click on the link. If you do, I don't know, that other electronic tool people use, and they read through I use the electronics to read for free or whatever. I'm not too savvy on all the electronics still, but and I have a new book that's coming up soon, 30-60 days I should have finished. It's called Beyond Belief. So that's my title. So nobody front run me on that one, okay?
That's a good title. That's a good title.
Wait a second, doesn't George Nori have a show by that title?
Oh, I don't know if it's a show, but I checked out how many books are written by that title, and I didn't find anything very noteworthy.
On Gaia, I think there's a show called Beyond Belief. Is that what you said? Huh?
Yeah. Well,
Didn't mean to,
Yeah.
you might want to check it out. It's a great show.
Yeah,
I watch it a lot.
yeah,
It's not a book. It's not a
yeah.
book.
Yeah, it's our experience from moment to moment, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jean. And I did put it in the chat, superchargedlife.org. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thanks for jumping in here.
Thank you.
All righty, would anyone else like to jump in here with a comment? I did have a comment. I did have something I was going to follow up with you on that last thing we were talking about, but it flew the coop. So, oh, okay. So yes, you publish. Do you do? I know you've done a lot. You do a lot of international training. And Karima, I don't know. How did you meet Mark? Tell us about that. And well, how did you get this great guest to come on our thing here?
I don't know. I'm so lucky. Oh my gosh. Well, I think I mentioned to you beforehand, I took a 4-week, it was like every weekend, learning how to market your book. And that was, Sark was on that. And then he has, a lot of offerings. And if you have been in them, then you got asked to be in like a private group of writers on Facebook. So it's been a real honor. Some great writers are there, and we all share bits and pieces, and even poems about jalapeno olives.
that was my most recent poem.
Yeah.
I told my wife, I don't think there's ever been a poem written about a jalapeno olive before.
No, it made me really want some. Yeah.
But now you have to recite it.
After what?
I said you have to recite it now. You can't keep us in jalapeno olive suspense.
Are you serious? I could find it. I can find it in my poetry file here. It was.
In the meantime, while you're finding it, Sheila Blake from Houston, Texas, wants to just say thanks to Mark for sharing his experience, his time, and his wisdom.
Oh, thank you. Okay, here it is. Are you ready for this?
Let's do it.
I give thanks for the great flavor of the jalapeno olives that explodes on my tongue. I give thanks to whoever invented that wonderful combination of flavors, and whoever planted those olive trees, and whoever picked those olives and cured those olives and stuffed them with jalapenos and bottled them and delivered them to the people who sold them on the street at my farmer's market. I give thanks to the creative force of the universe that came up with olive trees and jalapeno peppers and people who grow them and love to eat them. I'm in awe of the whole incredibly complex, magical, miraculous process of life on this blue jewel of a planet. That's my latest poem.
Well, that's great. And one of the greatest prayers, right, is thank you, is gratitude. So even though it's directed to the jalapeno, it's about everything, isn't it?
Yes. Good. That's true. It's about everything. Yes.
About everything. We also have someone who is wondering how your company helped support nonprofits for job creation to young people in Africa. Since he was recently in Nigeria, where the rate of unemployment is alarming, and he gave a connection there. I don't know if you do something like that.
We look at every nonprofit. What we do is at the end of every year, take a chunk of our profits and give that away to different nonprofits. And the way we do it is we divide whatever number we have by every employee, and every employee has a good amount of money to give to whatever nonprofits they feel moved to support.
Wow. And so would they just go to your website to learn about how to apply for that? Or is it just like the employee themselves does their own research and comes up with who they want to give to?
Yeah, usually the employees ourselves, yeah, but
Mm.
I mean, somebody could propose something, but yeah, it's up to each employee.
Right. Okay, wonderful. All right, you get any more thanks here? Thank you, Karima, Noel, and Bob. Mark from Kathy Mason, and Amanda sends her gratitude and thanks. And let's see, there was something else. Amanda said, it's so interesting how all of people you're talking about have these epiphanies around age 30. She said, I actually did a video on that.
Ah, interesting. I've never thought of that. Eckhart's was around age 30. Buddha was close to that. That's when Jesus started teaching.
Right? Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
What was I doing when I was 30?
Yeah, so what was I doing when I was 30? I just got my PhD. I just finished my dissertation. But
I also love to see stories of late bloomers, people had started. My friend Ken Kaiser wrote Handbook to Higher Consciousness. He was in his 50s selling commercial real estate in Florida, and then went and studied some Buddhism with Chogyam Trungpa, and then wrote his book and started teaching in his, I guess, late 50s, and went for 20 years and helped a huge number of people out here in Berkeley, California, including me and Shakti. That's where we met at a seminar he gave. He was much older, and he was a total quadriplegic. He had limited use of his left arm, was all. And he was a great teacher.
wow, that's magnificent.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite slogans is never say never.
Yes, that's good.
People
Yes.
say, ask me some things. I go, hey, never say never. It open. That's okay.
I love that.
Ann Sermon says she was influenced by him as well. So I think that was the last teacher you were talking about.
Yes, yes. Yeah, he influenced a lot of people. He was remarkable. He was wonderful. That's for sure. Handbook to Higher Consciousness. This is his book.
Well, I think we're just about ready to close here. This has been so delicious, delightful. And Mark, thank you so much for being here. And Karima, thank you for being the conduit. That I just feel so blessed and so grateful for this time together.
Thank you, Noel, for all you do. Thank you. And Karima, too. Thank you so much for providing this whole venue, as someone would say. So.
And then Mark, they can reach you, learn more about you at marcallen.com.
Right.
ARC.
Yes.
Allen, ALLEN. For the
Yes.
people who don't have access to the chat. Let me see. I just want to tell you about how you can save the chat. You can go to the bottom of the chat. You'll see 3 dots. You click on it once and it will say save chat. You'll find it in your documents.
Oh, good.
You'll go into your documents. There'll be a Zoom folder and there'll be chat. It's a text file. You can open it up with your Word document and it's much easier to read. So we have some more mahalo from our dear friend Tex for curating CCC, Karima and Mark for this evening, and everyone. So Karima, thank you for being in our life. We met her through Barbara Marx Hubbard. Mark, it's so wonderful that you had that connection to Barbara Marx Hubbard, as a lot of people on this call did. And you said, she was always about creating a world that works for everyone. That was one of her tags. And I kind of heard you say that earlier.
Yes. Yes.
Bless her soul. She was actually our neighbor when she transitioned, living at Sunrise Ranch in Colorado. And just, you know, she'd wake up every morning new.
Yes, that's
See her
yeah.
at breakfast.
Every morning new.
We'd see her at breakfast in the cafeteria, and she would say, "Oh, listen to this, something new." I can believe that as a publisher, she was your nemesis up until print moment.
Exactly. Yeah. She
But
really
the
was.
dynamic of people that have that kind of energy is just such medicine for all of us. Thank you
Yeah.
for that story.
Oh, good. Yeah, she was wonderful.
Yes. So we bring it all back to Barbara. Really, that's how we all got started here. So thank you, everyone, and hope to see you here next Thursday for another amazing talk. And if you put your email in the chat, I will make sure that you get once a month, we send out a list and information about who our speakers are coming up. So if you like to be on the inside scoop on that, just give us a message in the chat, or you can also contact us through our website, co-creatorsconvergence.com. So good night, everyone. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, everyone.
Mark, I just feel like I know you. Just
Thanks all.
That way too.
Thank you.
right.
Thank you so much.
Be well, everyone.
Been awesome.